I'm not a lawyer, but today is the due date for motions to be filed in the YSL trial, and I want to tell you about the first two and why a mistrial with double jeopardy attached could apply. The first motion is a motion for a mistrial, and it was filed by Doug Weinstein on behalf of Gotti. It says, quote, "The state has had witness after witness fail to provide the testimony that it would like the jury to hear. Rarely in the recent history of Fulton County Superior Court has one party had to impeach so many of its own witnesses, including at least the following key witnesses: Trontavia Stevens." Y'all remember Tick.
Some of the people who were members of the rock crew at the time that you were a member of rock.
Tell you some of the names that so you want me to name everyone that I grew up with, basically? I mean, are you gonna tell them to stop, or is there a certain amount of people you need to name or anything? Everyone?
Mr. Stevens.
There was another Jason, Boris Quentin, his little brothers. Dang, this gonna be hard.
Walter Murphy. Y'all remember DK?
You were arrested.
I don't
Recall in that interview telling the investigator that you had worked with police prior to July of 2015.
No, I don't remember saying that. No, I don't remember saying that. I don't really remember saying that, but I would calling myself a blood, so that sounds about right. I wasn't like a real blood, so I don't know what I said in the interview. I remember having an interview, though.
Archillian Bennett. Her face wasn't shown, but she was the one that the state had arrested to get her to come in. And she also had those allegations about that investigator. Adrian Bean. I know y'all remember Adrian Bean.
Can I get a water or something? I'm so high right now, y'all. I'm about to go to sleep on y'all ass.
D'Angelo White.
I don't even supposed to be here. Why is I'm here? I don't supposed to be here. I don't supposed to be here. I supposed to be in Chang'an prison. I don't even know why I'm here. This ain't got nothing to do with me. I don't even know why I'm here. I'm already doing a 10-year bid that I'm doing 2 armed robberies and a hijack. This don't have nothing to do with me. I don't supposed to be here. I'm gonna keep telling y'all that. With all due respect, man, I'm ready to go back to prison. You feel me? What do they got to do with me? D'Angelo White, what they got to do with me? Hey, man, this ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm ready to go back to prison. I'm just trying to finish my 36 months over 10 years and go home. Feel me? So you gonna force me to be here. Y'all gonna force me to be here.
And critically, Kenneth Copeland, aka Woody. The motion goes on to say, quote, "What is the state to do? Losing its case, apparently unconcerned about the need for public justice, the state clearly sought an opportunity to restart the trial by triggering an event in such egregious violation of the constitutional rights of Kendrick that he would have no choice but to request a mistrial. Now goaded by the state and the actions of Chief Judge Glanville, Kendrick has no option but to move this court for a mistrial to respect the constitutional rights of Kendrick and not defeat the ends of public justice." So what Doug Weinstein is essentially saying is that the state was having all these witnesses testify and none of them are doing or saying anything that's helping the state's case. The state is actually impeaching them all, or showing that they're not credible, that they're liars. So, out of desperation from losing, Doug Weinstein is saying that the state chose to violate the rights of the defendants, knowing that once the defendants found out, they would request a mistrial. And a mistrial meaning that the state gets to start all over, change up their strategy, witnesses, they essentially get a redo. Doug Weinstein goes on to give 3 reasons as to why a mistrial must be granted. Number 1, what happened after June 12th when the first motion for mistrial was filed cannot be undone. Doug Weinstein says Judge Glanville should have stopped all court proceedings when that first motion for recusal was filed, but he didn't. Glanville continued to preside over the trial. He continued to deny repeated objections from the defense regarding Copeland's testimony, and he allowed Kenneth Copeland to continue testifying for 4 more days. So how is it possible to ask the jurors to forget all that, to unhear days and days of testimony? Doug Weinstein says it's neither feasible nor plausible. He goes on to say, instructing someone to not picture flying elephants only results in the listener conjuring up images of Dumbo. Basically, the minute you tell the jurors to forget Kenneth Copeland's testimony, they're immediately going to start thinking about Kenneth Copeland's testimony. So for that reason, the court should grant this mistrial And he notes the request for this mistrial would not exist if it weren't for the state goading or baiting the defense into requesting it. Reason number 2 he motions for a mistrial is because of the secret ex parte meeting, which according to him violated Deamonte Kendrick's rights. One of the interesting points Doug Weinstein highlights here, specific to his client, Deamonte Kendrick, is that Kenneth Copeland is the key witness to the state's allegations that Deamonte Kendrick was involved in the unaliving of Donovan Thomas. If you're not aware, within this overall RICO case, there are other specific charges as well. And Deamonte Kendrick, along with 4 others, are specifically charged with the unaliving of Donovan Thomas. So, Doug Weinstein's point here is that without the testimony of Kenneth Copeland, the state really doesn't have much to tie his client, Deamonte Kendrick, to Thomas's unaliving. Therefore, any meeting with this key witness, Kenneth Copeland, particularly a meeting that is aimed at convincing Copeland or bullying him into testifying, would be considered a critical stage of the trial that Deamonte Kendrick and all of the defendants had a right to attend. And so, since that didn't happen, Weinstein says a mistrial must be granted, which again is only being requested because the state knew having this ex parte would result in the defendants requesting a mistrial. And the third reason is Doug Weinstein says Kenneth Copeland's testimony is now tainted by the improper ex parte meeting. Specifically, Judge Glanville's participation and coercion, according to Weinstein, of testimony from Kenneth Copeland was an act of impermissible intimidation and a violation of the Judicial Code of Conduct. Doug Weinstein says Deamonte Kendrick's constitutional rights to due process and a fair trial have been violated by the above actions, and the state's actions in working with Judge Glanville on the coercion has intentionally goaded Kendrick into the only possible outcome, this motion for a mistrial. All right. Now you're probably wondering, why would Doug Weinstein be asking for a mistrial, which would mean that the state can just do it all over again? You know all those parts about being goaded into requesting a mistrial and the state doing this because they were losing, so they basically did it on purpose? Well, that's the setup for a mistrial with double jeopardy attached. Here's a tweet from Doug Weinstein that says, quote, "We will never stop fighting for Mr. Kendrick's rights and his freedom. Mr. Kendrick has been locked up at Rice Street for over 2 years. His rights have been repeatedly violated. The only just outcome is a mistrial with double jeopardy attaching." So, in many cases, double jeopardy is not attached in instances of a mistrial. Typically, the judge rules that it's a mistrial and the state gets to retry the case if they wish. But in instances where a prosecutor acted in bad faith and goaded or baited the defendant into requesting a mistrial just so that they can get a do-over, the Supreme Court has held that double jeopardy can apply. So that is what Doug Weinstein is getting at. He's asking for a mistrial, but he's saying we were forced to ask because of the actions that the state took, and they took them because they wanted to get a do-over. Shannon Stillwell, who is represented by Max Shart, has also joined in on the motion for a mistrial with double jeopardy attached. Doug Weinstein has also filed a motion for bond for Deamonte Kendrick, so we will see which of these Judge Whitaker takes up on Tuesday, July 30th when they are back in court. What y'all think?